Woo! Holy shit.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to the channel. I'm Ben, and this season I've been testing my fleet of dual sport motorcycles on everything from highway to gravel to the nasty trails in my backyard here, all to see how they compare to each other, as well as some of the motorcycles that I've owned in the past. A lot of you guys were pretty interested in the 701 versus T7 video and actually got a lot of requests to do a strictly off-road video comparing those two bikes, and I have the perfect location. So let's gear up. We'll head about an hour north and we will see just how the 701 Enduro compares to the Tenere 700 off-road.
Well, after 45 minutes of screwing around in the parking lot trying to get our comms connected and both GoPros actually recording and not glitching, I think everything's working and we are actually doing a real trail ride together where we're recording and talking to each other. I don't remember the last time that this has happened. Do you?
No, I don't.
It's been a while. We'll do a little bit of riding here. I want to go through some specs on the two. Then we will switch bikes and kind of give you our thoughts on how the two differ on the Harrison Hills ATV trails here. Definitely lots of opportunities to get the wheels up in the air here. Should be a little bit of mud, some sand, and really just beautiful trails. Definitely worth coming up here if you guys are in the area. This is near Gleason, Wisconsin, kind of by Merrill, and definitely worth the trip. Just watch out for the UTVs.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know if I want to switch. I'm having too much fun on this.
That is a fun bike. So the Tenere 700, if you guys are unfamiliar, used to be my bike. I won the golden ticket in the Yamaha lottery and got one of the first ones in the country. Kind of put it all together and then moved on and sold it to my dad, Jerry. So he's been riding it. And then I picked up the 701 just a little over a year ago now. Haven't put all that many miles on it. This is actually the first time I'll be running it here, which should be a great test for it. And honestly, really pretty good trails, I think, probably for both bikes. As much as they seem similar on paper, I think when we switch, it'll be, I think, a bit of an eye-opening experience for you. I didn't realize how different they felt until I just did the on-road test the other day, which if you guys haven't seen that, I would recommend you check it out. Some good info there. But on paper, they are fairly similar. Ooh, some rough bumps coming up here, Jerry.
What's that? Oh, yeah.
Both of them are dual-purpose motorcycles. Both of them are bikes that people will turn into or use as an adventure bike, meaning something that you haul gear around on, camp off of, and maybe even live off of for weeks at a time. The 701 definitely doesn't have quite the same reputation for reliability as the CP2 parallel twin engine in the Tenere 700. The 701 here is just a big single, but unlike the other bikes that I've been making videos on and will be turning into light adventure bikes this summer, this one was designed somewhat recently, came out in 2016. Tenere, Jerry's got the first year model over here anyway, that was a 2021. They both, I think, claim somewhere around the same amount of horsepower in the 70s. DirtRider.com's dyno, however, though, shows that both bikes put out just about 60 horsepower.
What?
60 point something. Yeah. So they're
I got 70 horses. I know I do.
Whatever makes you feel better.
Yeah, you got 70 horses here.
So the biggest difference between the two as far as the power goes is really when you look at power to weight. This bike weighs 350 pounds. How many pounds do you think you're hauling around there, Jerry?
Pretty close to 500.
I bet it is. The KLR was 490 all loaded down. Not all loaded down. Loaded down with the crash bars and no bags or anything on it, actually. So I would assume you're pretty close to 500, somewhere around there.
Plate you put on here must weigh 25, if not 30.
Yeah, the Camel ADV bash plate is a serious plate, but it is, yeah, definitely adds a little bit of weight.
Well, if I don't hit that bash plate sometime this year, I think I'm going back to the old one.
Yeah, if you don't want to jump any logs, it's maybe not required. And I would say that this is a bike that is much much more friendly for doing that sort of thing. I could not believe how heavy the Tenere felt when I tried to take it through my woods. And the funny thing about that bike, like a lot of bikes, is it really feels light on its feet when you're doing about 10 miles an hour and up. But anything under 10 miles an hour, and especially if you go from, say, maybe 5 miles an hour to 0, that bike can definitely wrestle you and wants to wrestle you to the ground pretty quick. Where the 701, with the lowered seat height, this was dropped 2.5 inches by the previous owner, it definitely feels a little bit less like it wants to tackle you, and I definitely appreciate that. It also is a little bit easier on my wrists. It really depends on the type of riding you want to do, though, and if you're moving at what are we doing now, about 20 miles an hour? I mean, I would assume that bike probably feels pretty light, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. If you go through mud or something and it sways a little off to the side, all of a sudden you can feel the weight again.
Right, but in contrast, when you had the XC800 Tiger, that bike, of course, felt much heavier and really wanted to fight you to the ground.
I think it was too much bike for you. That's why you got rid of it.
I wouldn't say that's an inaccurate statement. I always wanted to do stupid stuff with it. Like I wanted to take it on single track, and it's very capable for that if you're big enough to handle it, but at 5'10" and 155 pounds, it was just too much. It makes sense for you because you ride on the road a lot.
Yeah, I might take it to Montana this year.
Right, and I won't be doing that with this. I'll be doing a lot more of this than anything. Yeah, honestly, as much as I like the standing position on that one, I think it's almost kind of good that the bars on here are a little bit closer and a little bit lower, because it kind of forces me to be in the attack position.
Oh yeah.
Which wears my legs out a bit faster, of course, but if I was actually in shape, I mean, I think this kind of just forces you to be right where you should be, where that one's definitely more comfy to stand on, but you end up being, I don't know, I always ended up being too far back seat, and then I'd lose the front a lot, or slip, you know, the front would slip. First gear on here seems to be tall enough that I don't really think I ever even use second. Once in a while when we get really moving. What gear have you been in?
Like now I'm doing 26 in second gear.
Yeah, that's about kind of what I figured is second. I think this thing definitely has more vibrations just like in first or second riding trails like this. The bars really do vibrate a bit. Out on the road you don't, but that's because you're not revving it up so high, I think. Where like that one, I mean, even if you're on the top end of first or second, the bars really don't vibrate much, right?
No, not at all.
I gotta say, I really do like the ABS on here. I wish all bikes were like that, where it's just front, because I mean, really off-road, you don't want to lock the front up, you know? I mean, if you do, it's usually on accident.
And it's always only the back brake that you want to, the back end that you want to slide around and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. You want to be able to make the back slide when you need it to for course correction, and the front, I mean, likewise, you don't ever really want it to slip. You want it to be able to be there to catch you if you mess up.
Oh yeah.
As much as I say this is more bike than anybody needs, it sure is fun. So different compared to a real purpose-built Midweight adventure bike.
Woo! Holy shit.
And one thing that I kind of forgot, or I always kind of forget to mention about the differences between these is both the XR, the DR, and the 701 being a single cylinder and being a rather large piston. It's a little bit harder to make sure that you don't start leaking oil around those rings, where your still a 700cc-ish bike has two cylinders, which are obviously, you know, half the size of this, you know, working together to create the same horsepower, but you have a lot less surface area to try to, and a much smaller jug to keep round and to keep, you know, sealed up against the rings. So that's why singles in general aren't going to last as long, or are going to require rebuild a little sooner. Obviously this one being, you know, tuned up so high is gonna have problems even sooner. But your valve checks, I think, need to be done for the first time at 24,000 miles, I think.
Wow.
Where this one, I believe, is like 4,000 or something like that, or 6,000 miles. Or no, it is. I think it's like 4,200 or something. I don't remember. I'll put it on the screen. Wow, look at those hills.
Well, oh wow. That is incredible.
It really is.
You'll have to get that film off of here. Well, who knows what it'll look like, but...
Yeah, it won't look as cool, but it'll look neat.
Oh, wow, that is cool.
Should we park the bikes off to the side and take a picture?
This bike is perfect for these trails.
You think so?
I think so.
As long as it makes you happy and gets you through safely, that's all you need.
Yep. Wow.
I do have to say that I think I appreciate the sound of the T7 a bit more than this bike. It really does have a nice purr to it, especially with the Camel ADV high exhaust mount kit. But this does sound pretty good when you really get on it. Whoa!
Yeah, I gotta say, one place this does not feel heavy is hitting big bumps. When it goes down and up, it's just like the suspension just like sucks it up.
The suspension on that really, really impressed me. I had that just in my woods just a little bit on the same little tour that I took on the XR, the DR, and then this. And that suspension, I mean, for as much as people complain about it, for guys our size anyway, man, it really handles its own weight and ours exceptionally well, I think. I mean, it's a heck of a lot better than the DR, I'll say that for sure. I don't know if it's as good as the 701 and the XR, but I mean, it's pretty close, I think.
Yeah, I've always kind of been, whatever you give me, I'm gonna make it work. I don't care, I'm not changing nothing. We'll make it work. Which isn't the smartest thing in the world, because I know things in life are, some of them you have to fix, but I don't know.
I think there is something to be said for just being able to get on a bike and enjoy it. And I mean, I think we should probably, you know, as much as it's good to know stuff about them and to be able to, you know, swap parts and whatever, I mean, you're going to save a heck of a lot of money if you're somebody like you that could just hop on a bike and enjoy it rather than, you know, hours of research and tinkering. And some people just like that sort of stuff. And I can't say that I don't.
Making improvements.
Yeah, it's a hobby, I think, more than anything. And I guess I would say completely from the factory, your bike is in a lot better shape as far as just doing nothing with it goes, if you're not going to lay it down on that exhaust. Ooh, that was a big rock.
Whoa! That's a big dip.
Squirrel! What are you doing, squirrel? Still blinking? What's that about?
My hands.
Yeah, mine feel fine.
I'm hanging on too tight.
Yeah,
I really am.
You're hanging on to a lot more than I am. So the exhaust can definitely be an issue on that bike. This one, the biggest problem that I think you can run into, at least that I know about, aside from a total meltdown or shaving metal off of your camshafts, which can happen, the slave cylinder for the clutch, because this is a hydraulic clutch, can and probably will have some issues, especially if you've got an early year model and you've still got the stock one. This had the slave cylinder replaced before I purchased it, so we should be all good there. And I've got to say, I really, really, really like the hydraulic clutch on here. I was never really sure, you know, how that would feel or how it would perform, but as far as feel goes and performance, it is super, super easy to pull. I mean, it takes just about nothing, and really, I mean, it is fairly intuitive. It maybe took me a little bit to get used to it, but I think that was just overcoming what I had sort of pictured in my head for how it would feel. And I mean, it basically, it works just like any other clutch, just much easier to pull. Whoa! On the bumps, I would say, the bumps and the jumps, I would say this thing works just about perfect for me. And I'm certainly not, as much as I know a bit about suspension, I'm certainly not an expert, and I'm not all that great of a rider that I could really tell you what this thing needs to make it even better. But with the compression and rebound damping, and the all the adjustments in the back, preload, rebound, and compression. I mean, you can definitely dial this thing in. And for me, I mean, even with the suspension lowered, boy, it comes down nice. I mean, it feels like a motocross bike out here. And honestly, it has always felt, I mean, maybe a little bit sporty, meaning not super plush, but it really has always felt good to me on the road. I've never noticed any uncomfortability or issues there. Ooh, that might have been the front, but I think I came down a little bit too far forward. Ooh, a little bit of sand washed the front a little bit, but other than that, sort of as expected. I would say this is probably the best handling motorcycle that I've ever ridden on these trails. I mean, this thing, other than slapping the front a little bit there, which was more my mistake than anything, I really have no complaints about this thing out here. I mean, it's great. It feels like it was meant for this, yet it'll still do 70 miles an hour all day with no problems. Definitely doesn't feel as comfy or as glued to the road. There's a little bit of mud as the T7, but I mean, still an awesome machine and something that can definitely be turned into an ADV bike. You ready for a break or not?
Sure.
Gotta pull up there?
Sure.
Sorry. Ooh, one thing is the turning radius on this is fairly tight, and that does get me into trouble off-road a lot. The bars only turn that far. Yeah, which, let me tell you, is not ideal for off-road. So the ABS is on in the rear all the time, but the front, it should not come on, so you don't have to do anything with that. Well, after making friends with all the mosquitoes here and giving them a feeding, we've decided to swap bikes so Jerry can test out everything I've been telling you guys about how much better my bike is than his.
Oh, that ain't true.
It's not better. This one is a far better road traveler, but I think, oh my gosh, just getting it off of the side stand, wow. This is a heavy bike.
They found the key.
That's good. Yeah, it's hard to find, isn't it? I gotta turn my ABS off. Yeah, and the clutch on here actually feels not too bad, even just with one finger, but I really like the hydraulic clutch on there.
Why is everything vibrating?
Yeah, it does that.
The mirrors.
The bars move a lot. It's one of my cheap double take mirrors. You can go first.
You want me to go first?
Yeah.
Oh, God. Wow, first gear is doggy as
Is doggy?
Yeah, isn't it? Or am I in second?
You might be in second. I guess I don't notice that it's that doggy. It is a very different feeling bike.
Oh, it comes too real fast, though.
Yeah, the throttle can get away from you pretty quick, and it doesn't make near as much noise as this. So take it easy when you're feeling it out for a wheel spin, because it can get going pretty quick and you don't realize it until it's too late.
Yeah, the ergonomics are pretty different on here. It takes a little bit of getting used to.
Yeah, the ergos on this really make you feel like super stretched out, and some of that, I mean, obviously is just where they have the bars, the foot pegs, and the seat, but the wheelbase on that bike is a decent amount shorter than this one.
The wheelbase?
It is, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I think that one's 60.
Right, and that one's, I think, like, well, it's only like an inch or two, I think. Maybe it's a little more than that. I don't know. I'll have it on the screen.
Lots of low-end torque, huh?
It does, yeah. It's a very snappy feeling bike. And that's why I've never really liked the quiet exhaust on there, because I feel like you can never actually get a feel for what's going on.
Yeah, it's true. It's too quiet.
It is. Yeah, once you're moving, this bike definitely feels very light. Well, I don't know, maybe not very light, but it feels lighter than it does when you're stopped, where that one, it feels like a bicycle compared to this thing when you're going real slow and on single track.
Whoa.
How's it feel on the bumps?
Oh, nice. Kind of feel like I'm riding a Honda Trail 70.
Yeah, it does feel like a very small bike. And it's not. I mean, it's a big bike that really you could slap a rally fairing on that would make it look almost like the Tenere. How do you feel about the vibrations now that we're moving? You notice it or forget about it?
Oh, I forgot about it.
Yeah, it moves. It definitely moves the bars around a bit, but the rest of it's really not bad. I mean, it's for a single, it's pretty smooth otherwise.
Takes a little bit to get used to.
It does.
I'm certainly not there yet, but it does feel light. I mean, really easy to. Oh, you can stand up on this one, huh?
You can, and if you do, you'll notice that your bars are quite a bit closer to you than they are on here. But they're still really in a pretty good spot since I've got those Rocks offset risers on there. Before that, it was annoying for me to stand up, but mostly just because I was used to this ridiculous stretched out thing.
Yeah, it does feel kind of like a motocrosser, the motor.
It definitely does. It feels much more motocross than it does adventure bike, which is really kind of what I like about it, and that's sort of why I decided to do the DR and the XR build. Because, I mean, like I said, as nice as this bike is out on the road, if you're somebody that spends as much time off-road as I do, and you don't really plan on putting on, you know, hundreds of miles a day ever, I mean, that bike just seems like the smarter decision. I mean, and I think that's, I mean, no bike is going to fit everyone or anyone perfectly.
Nope.
That's why it's nice to have a couple.
Yeah.
We're lucky enough to do that. But, I mean, if you're not, you have to make that decision whether or not the positives outweigh the negatives for, you know, the highest percentage of riding. So for me, back when I had this, I mean, most of the time we'd be trailering it around to places and single tracking it, which, I mean, obviously I'm doing it to test it and to see what I think of it and what I can do with it, but I mean, in the long game and just being an actual motorcycle owner, that really doesn't make any sense, and that's why I decided, rather than chase the interests of others, I might as well, chase my own interests. And honestly, I'm really enjoying my big bore dual sports.
Yeah, I bet you are.
I do miss this, and especially out on the road, boy. I mean, as good as those bikes are at bridging the gap between single track and highway, I mean, they're nothing near as comfy and solid as this out on the road. And I mean, this you just, on the road, you never think you're on a dual sport.
No.
It's just like you're riding, you know, a powerful, I don't know, half fairing standard bike. I mean, they're just so good, which really makes them even more impressive out here. Because while, you know, I'm saying that bike is so much better, I mean, this bike is a heck of a machine out here and really performs, I mean, way better than a 460-pound bike should.
Oh yeah. Whoa! Yeah, I don't know if I got both tires off the ground on the Tenere today.
I think maybe I have a little bit, but I'm definitely taking it a lot easier on this now than I used to. I suppose because it's yours now. But I mean, I used to have the wheels off the ground on this thing all the time.
Oh, I wouldn't worry about it.
Well, I'm kind of half worried that when I come down, I'm going to think I'm on that bike and then realize quickly when this thing tackles me that I'm not.
There's a lot of jumps out here, but
this is weird, huh? They must have been working.
Yeah, this is light though, and you don't have to think as much.
No, you really don't. And this thing, I think, definitely is a huge improvement over your old Tiger, as far as thinking and having to, you know, plan your, not your route, but plan your line and stuff. I mean, you definitely don't have to pay as close attention or think as hard. It's much more enjoyable. But I mean, it kind of the same goes from this to that, or this to the DR. I mean, anytime you can get on a lighter bike, that's the right answer.
Yeah.
If that doesn't fit your needs on the highway, well, you're gonna have to go a little heavier, but then you're gonna have to take it easier on the road.
Yeah, because I still think the Tiger was better on the road, but the trade-off was well worth it.
Yeah, that definitely was a very sporty road bike, that's for sure.
Yeah, you basically have a sport bike and a dirt bike.
Right, and that you said you were always more confident over 70 miles an hour on that, right? This you said can kind of get...
I'm getting more confident, like 80. I think I was doing 85 one day, and I still felt pretty good. So maybe I'm starting to compensate for whatever the difference is.
Sure.
Because, yeah, when I first got it, anything over like going on 80 miles an hour, I felt like anything happens and there's nothing I could do because this thing's so freaking squirrely. It's not going to maneuver for me, but
sure.
And wobbly. And now I'm starting to get rid of that, I guess. Maybe I'm just getting used to it being wobbly.
Yeah, that could be.
It's wobbling a little bit at 105. It's all right. I'm cool.
Yeah, one thing I will say about this bike is the throttle and the anti-squat rear feel like a cheat code for drifting around the corners, but that one honestly does a pretty good job, even though it doesn't have the anti-squat rear. I think the suspension's just stiff enough and it's got enough power that you just twist the throttle and you're spinning it up pretty quick.
Yeah, you have to think sometime when you're going on the corners. That's why I'm not really spinning it on the corners. Is you got to think about it. Is my back tire spinning or not right now?
I know, and that's why when I first got that bike, I was so uncomfortable on it because I could just never tell what was happening.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, you can definitely feel the weight of this one, or I guess I can, going over the jumps. And
oh,
yep,
yeah.
you remember you said your wrists were tired right away?
Yeah.
Mine are tired.
Yours are now?
No, they are now.
Oh.
It's just a lot of bike to hang on to.
It is. As always, I hang on too tight, but...
How are you feeling on that one for your Gorilla Grip?
When we started talking, I started hanging on lighter. But no, this is awesome.
Yeah, it's kind of like the 701 is kind of like a DR 650 that has, well, twice the power, almost twice the power, and doesn't actually feel quite as good as far as like gravel road riding. The DR just always has felt way more glued to the trail or the road than anything, but that one really does feel like a pretty nice handling bike.
I know I said it before when we were riding the DR and the Honda, but racing around on a 650 on the highway on the twisties is a lot of fun.
It really is. That was a great ride that we were on the other day.
You're not going to really go that fast, but you go fast enough.
Yeah, I think the DR and the XR have, even in stock form, which they're easy to wake up. I mean, it really takes, from what I've been told anyways, next to nothing. And even Jason's bike, the few mods that we did, the free mods, really do make a difference. But even completely stock, I think those bikes, unlike the KLR, I think they have just enough power. The 701 has more than enough power for, I would say, 95% of people. But I don't know, the XR and the DR just feel like they're just about right. And that's why I really like, a lot of times when I'm doing these comparison videos, I try to compare, well, this is a good run, good hill to test. I like to compare not just the horsepower and the torque, but also, I mean, the horsepower to the weight, because I mean, that's really what's going to give you the best idea for how the bike is going to perform. But of course, nothing beats an actual seat test.
How did you do up that rock hill?
I'd have been much more comfortable on that bike, but this one definitely hauls up it no problem. I mean, back in the day when I was starting out, that would have definitely scared me, but...
I should be taking these jumps, but it's like...
Yeah, this is kind of a dangerous section.
Yeah, you see all the rocks below you, and you wonder, you really can't see the ground.
Yeah, it's hard to beat the sound of this bike, huh?
Yeah, it really is. This one kind of sounds like a snowmobile.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, that's a fun bike.
Think so?
I think I like the DR more.
Do you? Why is that?
I don't know. It's just a little less wild.
That is definitely true, yeah.
I mean, it just, you know... And once you got used to this one, you'd probably like this one more. But it's just like going around the corners, you know, on a DR, I had no problem, you know. hitting it and sliding the back end around. And this one, it's like, well, it doesn't seem like a really good idea.
No, and
because a couple times it's like, whoa.
The KLR, the DR, and the XR, you can get used to pretty quick. The average rider, and I mean, you and I spend a lot of time on bikes, but I think the average rider can jump on one of those and do a fair job. This one, if the average rider jumped on it and tried to ride it to its extreme, or to, you know, like pinning it around the corner and stuff, I think you'd hurt yourself pretty quick.
I bet you would.
This is not a bike for beginners, and neither is the Tenere, but for kind of a different reason, I think.
Yeah, the Tenere, you just work at keeping it upright.
Right, yeah, that's the hardest part. This, I mean, I think a lot of it has to, for me anyways, has to do with the sound. I mean, I just feel like there's such a disconnect between what the back wheel is doing. I don't know why that is.
That makes sense, because that was my problem too. Is I was always afraid I'd come up to a corner and you'd give it a little bit and like really wouldn't slide, and the next one you give it a little more and you could feel it, you know, sliding out on you. But yeah, it's awesome.
It is a fun bike, and if you guys are interested in something like this and you think this would work well for you, as long as you're not concerned about the known reliability issues with brands like KTM and Husqvarna, which I think partially is due to the way that people ride them. I mean, the person that's going to buy this bike is not going to putt around on it. I mean, if you're going to spend 14 grand, I think, almost on a bike like this, you're not going to get on it and putt around. You're buying it to ride it to its fullest potential. And if you're going to ride anything to its full potential consistently, it's going to have problems. I don't think that accounts for all of the issues, though. I mean, I think in general, it's really hard to beat Japanese reliability.
Yeah,
I think they've just been making bikes for so long, and that's just their niche, is that they're maybe not the most insane bike like this one is. They're not the best suspended, but I mean, they're going to get you wherever you want to go pretty much, and they're going to do a pretty darn good job at it the entire time you own it, and you're not going to have to do a whole lot. Where this, you definitely have the possibility of the bike being in the shop for, you know, weeks on end, and we've got a Yamaha dealer 45 minutes from home. I don't know where the nearest Husqvarna or KTM dealer is, so you definitely have to take that into consideration.
I think everybody's pretty much got a local dealer, a local small motorcycle shop in town that will work on, absolutely everything on a Japanese bike. And just like my Tiger, you know, our local small shop, which is great, Pro Motor, they check the valves on it, and I think that was about it. But, you know, they're real hesitant to any problems. You know, we're not, you know, that's about all we're going to do for you. Other than that, you take it 130 miles or 90 miles to Green Bay.
Oh, look what we got coming.
Oh, no.
Are there two people on that bike?
Two up. Should we go hide behind a tree?
Yeah, run into the woods. Hello.
What the hell?
A split rock or what?
No, look at the holes in it. And that looks like it's been machined.
Yeah, I've seen that before. What does that mean? Is that from being in the water? Oh yeah, look at the weird steps over there.
Oh, wow.
That's a strange rock. Sorry.
Wow, that is weird.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only time they get like smooth things like that is when they're in the water, right?
I don't know.
It's a strange... The whole thing is weird. It's all like... I don't know. Strange. Aliens.
Aliens, yeah. So my camera's still going, right?
Yes, I think they both should be. And I don't know that... I think we'll probably just do a wrap-up after this, I think. Yeah, mine's still going too. Yeah, we'll just run over the jump. You can stop wherever you want. I'll double back, grab the camera, and then we can wrap it up.
All right. I like this bike.
Yeah, I do too. It's a good machine. I've been back talking it on you all day, huh? Or down talking?
Talking it down?
Yeah, no. I said I have been. Not really.
Not really.
You ready to roll?
Yep.
Ready to fly, I guess I should say?
I am.
All right.
I think I got off the ground.
Yeah, I think I just did just a little bit too. Should we carry on?
Carry on.
All right. Well, Jerry, thanks for riding along with me and doing a little T7 701 comparison. I appreciate it. It's always good riding with you. I'm sure everybody's happy to have you back on the channel. I get lots of requests.
I feel safer on this bike.
It's an interesting interesting thing, but I suppose I can definitely see that. And I have always kind of said that this is definitely a weapon of a motorcycle, and probably more of a weapon than it is a motorcycle.
Yeah, no kidding. It makes you want to go fast.
It does, yeah. It's a whole nother thing compared to any other bike that I've been on, and definitely a fun ride. But the T7 is, I mean, just undoubtedly one of the best midweight adventure bikes, I think, and something that's a good option if you're looking to do pretty much what you do, which is a little bit of this, a little bit of highway travel, a lot of cruising around, and some camping.
Whoa, would this be fun? No.
All right, guys, so thanks for watching. Take care, stay safe, stay swanky, get out and enjoy this beautiful world God created for us any chance you get. Whoa, big rock, shoot. Lots of rocks on the backside of these.
Oh, this was the one that was hard to climb. Oh yeah. But I was on that little bike.